Let's talk to Rupert Bell, who literally couldn't try any harder if he tried. Rupert, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
Good to see you, Rupert. It's a big story about King Charles today in the Times that we saw at the weekend. Memos fired off by the monarch to correct grammar and demand single flowers be moved, are wrecking morale among staff who are paid as little as minimum wage down at Highgrove. What's going on?
Well, it seems like gardeners have been revolting, if you read, looking through the lines of the article, because Highgrove is his home, has lived there for a long time, and he's passionate, from the King's perspective. The gardens is something that he has brought on and developed over the years to be quite a spectacular one. But it appears that, it's not saying it's recently, but sort of in 2022, 2023, there was trouble with the staff, saying they're not being paid properly. The turnover has been high of staff. There's been investigations that potentially people's mental health has been affected. So it's all, look, I don't know the exact details, but obviously this investigation has found that not everybody's been happy working for the King in his garden. But in the defence, they say we pay above the minimum wage. We have been consulting. Our turnover isn't as any more than anywhere else. It is an industry that does see people move very often between places of work if you're a gardener. So it's difficult to know exactly what is going on. There's obviously going to be two sides of the coin to this story, but obviously it's uncomfortable reading for the King to find that when he prides himself on being so good with his staff, that some aren't as happy as we perhaps thought they should be.
No. Well, it says that he's lost 11 of 12 gardening staff since 2022, including 2 head gardeners who quit within a year.
Well, that's not a good look. I mean, gardeners do move, as I say, regularly, but if he's putting unnecessary demands on them, shortage of staff, I think the King has acknowledged that there's an awful lot of work to be done there, and perhaps they haven't had as many people working there to make it via putting people under too much pressure with their workload. He's even asked for sort of volunteers who might want to come along and help out from the local area. So to ease the burden on as part of the King's Foundation, which this is, because the place gets around 40,000 visitors a year. So it is an attraction in the area just outside Tetbury in Gloucestershire. So obviously it's something that I'm sure the King will be looking at to make sure that this sort of story doesn't come out again.
And how often does he get down there, would you say? Because he's pretty busy these days elsewhere, isn't he?
Probably less than he would like, but obviously you talk about MPs going on holiday. He will be beginning his summer. I think he's not going to see President Trump this weekend when he goes to Scotland for a golfing trip, but the King will see him in September, but he will begin his holiday in Scotland. But he does try to get to Highgrove as often as is practical, because it is a place for him that he is very happy there, particularly in the garden, although the headlines surrounding the garden over the weekend were not quite what he wanted.
Yeah, he might not be quite so keen to hang about in the garden. There's one guy apparently, but the monarch said of one worker, "Do not put that man in front of me again," supposedly.
Well, we know that the King can have sometimes a little bit of a short temper. I mean, obviously during the period during the funeral time after the Queen died, the famous pen incident.
Yes.
He sometimes does want everything done very correctly. So, and he's known, but that's something that the Queen does her level best to try and eradicate from him, because it sometimes does get him in a little bit of hot water. So we don't know exactly the terms of that conversation, but maybe there was a moment of someone that didn't quite do the job as he would like, and he maybe was a little short with them. But I obviously don't know absolutely 100%.
No, of course. And they're now offering, the Royal Charity which runs the gardens have been told to offer mental health support after a formal investigation. So there's been a formal investigation by somebody. I don't know by whom.
Well, I think they brought in some people to do it. So, and an independent...
Garden gate, you could call this, couldn't you?
Well, I suppose you could. There's a lot of gates going on at the moment, aren't there? So, but this is well, the King's Gate with his garden. So and hopefully it will be resolved because it is a spectacular garden, but obviously it requires an awful lot of maintenance to ensure that it does look as good as not only the king would like, but the people who may have an opportunity to see it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Absolutely right. Well, listen, good to talk to you. I just want to mention, only because we both knew him, you knew him better than anybody else, Bob Bupker, the fantastic American broadcaster who used to do the Open with you. You were just up in Portrush in Northern Ireland there, a place that he loved well. And just wanted to, just mention and pass my condolences to his family.
Well, yeah, very sad news. He was 83, but I had the privilege of working with him for over 25 years, and he was a larger-than-life character with the most fantastic voice, which was hypnotic to listen to.
Yeah.
I'll miss hearing that voice, but I'll also miss him because he was a great company to be around. He was a force of nature.
Yes.
Who left his mark, anyone who came within his radar, and we will all miss him, particularly on our as part of our TalkSport golf coverage.
Yeah.
As you say, I've been at the Open, but he would have loved watching Scotty Scheffler do what he did around Royal Portrush over the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well said, Rupert. Thank you very much indeed. Rupert Bell, Talks Royal correspondent, also TalkSport's golf correspondent as well, and he was there at Portrush, a very sacred place to Bob Butker, who was a wonderful man who did an awful lot of work for them.